Here I am. Is everyone here?
Wait, like I'll.
Sorry, I'm not talking to you.
We got 3 out of 5. So
3 out of 5? Okay.
So we do have a quorum. I think we'll give Jen just a couple minutes if she's able to figure it out. If not, we'll just keep moving forward.
Okay, perfect. So also give me a few minutes to try and get my computer to work. I think I saw Jen pop on.
Yep. So I think since Jen's on, Brittany, if you want to take the lead, and then we can jump into the agenda.
Perfect. Hold on, I have to switch back on my phone. I would like to call the meeting of Village of Cottage Grove Tourism Commission to order on Wednesday, March 19th at 9:02 a.m. There is a quorum and the agenda was properly posted. Excuse me. And it is now the public's opportunity to speak. Cameron, can you tell me if there's anyone there?
Is there anyone in the room that would wish to speak? There's nobody in person who wishes to speak at this time.
Perfect. Okay, we will move on. We will discuss and consider the minutes, from March 20th, 2024 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Oh, W2B.
All right, we have a motion and a second. And, all right, hold on. I'm trying to make sure I do this right. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Aye.
I was not it before, so.
Okay, Jen abstains.
It's Cindy.
Cindy, okay. Sorry, Cindy abstains. So I have John as a yay, Cindy abstains. I'm a yay.
So then Jen just needs to either abstain.
And then all not in favor? Any abstains?
Sorry, I couldn't hear very well, so.
It's okay. Jen, you weren't at the last meeting, so you cannot vote in favor of the meeting minutes, so you would abstain from the vote. And then, okay, motion passes. Next up, excuse me, is discuss and consider the election of officers. We have the chairperson, vice chair, and secretary. We'll start with the chairperson.
I can just jump in. So these are all required by statute that we have these positions. The only one that really does anything is the chairperson, unless for some reason the chairperson's not here. But since we don't meet very often, we try to have everyone available. And the secretary is purely ceremonial since we have Kelly here doing the minutes, but we do need to fill the spots.
I am happy to nominate myself as chairperson for the Tourism Commission again.
Sounds good to me.
All right. I'll take that as a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes.
Jen's
All
got to
right,
vote.
for, what, oh, sorry.
Jen
Jen.
didn't vote on the motion.
Oh, that's right. She is, I'm sorry.
I was like, can I vote on this one? Oh, yeah.
Yes, you can
Great.
vote. Sorry, Jen. I'm like
I-
hearing some feedback from me. Okay. Okay. So the second one is the vice chairperson. Any nominations for the vice chairperson?
I'll nominate John Williams as vice chairperson.
I will
I was
second
gonna pick
that
on you,
motion.
Cindy.
Looks like Cindy beat you to it, John.
It's fine.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Was that Jen?
Yep.
Jen, Cindy, John, okay. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. All right. Up next is the secretary. Any nominations for the secretary?
I'll nominate
Cameron, could we
Cindy.
nominate Kelly? Or sorry,
No, because she's not a voting member.
Yeah.
So
she's not, okay,
your choices, remaining choices would be Jen, Cindy, or Eric.
okay, but like
I'll
you said,
nominate
it's
Cindy.
like kind of ceremonial because it's Kelly does the work.
Yeah, because she's
that-
employed by
okay.
the village, not elected or appointed, so she wouldn't be able
Okay.
to.
I just wanted to clarify what I was hearing earlier. Perfect. John, I'll second your motion for Cindy as secretary. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jen,
Aye.
any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Okay. Up next is an update from Britt Leach, Executive Director of the Cottage Grove Chamber of Commerce, regarding the use of the tourism funds. So I will hand it over to you, Britt.
Okay, can you hear me all right? All right.
I can, yes.
Okay, everyone can hear me? So last December, we created and approved a 2025 budget, which started January 1. Since January 1 of last year, we have had a long list of things that we accomplished successfully. First couple of things was giving out or approving 5 $1,000 grant options for local events. Can you hear me? Oh. 2 were approved, one for the rugby club and the other one for the Fireman's Festival. We met with Discover Wisconsin and contracted with them, and we agreed to do a original short video. And just a sidetrack here, Discover Wisconsin is a locally owned and operated family-ran business in the east side of Madison. And we met with them, and they gave us a list of options, and what we could afford was what's called an original short video. So they will come out this spring and summer and film Cottage Grove as a whole. I met with their creative department a couple of weeks ago, and of course, you know, I'm a big fan of Cottage Grove, so I listed about 50 things I'd love to see highlighted, but of course, unfortunately, it's only about a 6-minute video. So therefore, they're going to highlight our amenities, our events, parks, recreation, the Comfort Suites Hotel, restaurants, things like that. Once we air the video, which should be aired September, October, Travel Cottage Grove will have the rights to the video, which we would be more than happy to share with the village or anyone else who would like to use it to highlight Cottage Grove as a whole. Couple other things we did last year was we wanted to try to connect the guests at the Comfort Suites Hotel with our local amenities. So the best way to do that was to create a magnet with a QR code that we put on and which directed them to our website, and each magnet went into each hotel room on the refrigerator inside. So that was exciting. Next up, we needed to increase our SEO for our website and get our social media presence higher. So the committee approved blog posts by Maggie B Communications, which is a locally owned and operated business. Also, the committee approved some Facebook sponsorship ads, which actually worked, which was wonderful. So increased our social media presence and also our SEO on our website. And then we contracted with a local photographer, Stutz Photography. We needed some high-end photos that highlight not only the village, but the hotel as well, and also our local amenities, parks, restaurants, things like that. So we actually are still in contract with them, and they will do another shoot once the weather gets a little bit nicer and spring comes. Let's see here. We met with 3 media buyers. 2 of the 3 are our chamber members, which is wonderful. And so what we're going to do for this year is we're going to increase our grant requests, which we have yet to decide on that number yet. I think that's on our agenda next month. And then what we plan to do is connect those grant recipients with the media buyers. So the media buyers then will in turn help them advertise and market their event to bring hopefully overnight visitors, but of course daytime visitors, which both bring an economic value to the village. I was told to keep it short, so I could keep going. Otherwise, does anybody have any questions?
Brett, this is John. Do we have any way of measuring any of these, these various efforts you kind of listed off? In other words, which ones may be working, which ones may not, so that you can kind of, if it's working, then obviously we want to continue it. If it's maybe not working, maybe want to try something else. Just curious.
So good question. So we inherited the funds 2 years ago, and since then, you think of it like a brand new business, a startup. And so, created our domain, created our logo, our branding, website, and then what do? So you hopefully find measurements that do track it. And to answer your question, we were able to track our Facebook sponsored posts, and we're also able to track our SEO on our website through Google Analytics. So yes, able to track those as well. In terms of the magnet with the QR code, I mean, that unfortunately I wouldn't be able to track so much. I know Jen appreciated it because guests come and ask, where do I eat or where do I go? Is there a coffee shop located nearby? So we had that. And then Discover Wisconsin, we don't know yet because we are in the work. Yeah, we're in the works with that. So they will film this summer. And then yes, at the end of that, we absolutely will be able to track it. They will actually track it for us. That's part of the payment in terms of impressions, who's seen it, how many people clicked on it, and so forth. I think I covered everything. Oh, and then the grant requests. So for example, the executive director of the Madison United Rugby Club, Brad Dufek, this is basically how it went, is he applies for a grant. He works with Jen in trying to get some of his teams and coaches in the hotel overnight, and then she tracks it, and then I go back to Brad, how was the event? He tells me how many people came, what he used the funds for, and then we issue him payment. So does that help answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you, Brett.
So is there an effort then to try and get the other, so you had 5 grants, but only 2 applicants for it. So is there a way to increase those opportunities for other events?
Yes. So luckily I worked with JJ last year, so it's on the Village of Cottage Grove's website. It's on the Chamber of Commerce website. It's on Travel Cottage Grove's website. We did do a blog post all about the grant, how it works, how the funds are received, and who can apply for it. We put the blog out to the interwebs, but of course it's probably something that could be reposted, or we'd be happy to share with the Village of Cottage Grove as well to be able to post it to local events. But going back to state statute and how it's written is that the funds can, grant recipients can only use the funds on marketing and advertising the event outside of pretty much Dane County to drive traffic here.
I was just wondering if there's an opportunity to link it to the special events permit that we spent so much time working on the last handful of
Yes.
months.
What special events permit? No.
Just the September through December conversation about special events.
So include the special events permit along with the grant.
Or at least like have that information in the packet, so when people are applying for
Absolutely.
events, to put that there.
Put that at the top of my list.
Britt, too, if during the communication, I don't know if there's a certain period of time when it's open, but I think that's something that could get included in the village's monthly newsletter. At least put it once, every so often, just to remind people that it's available.
Absolutely. I mean, the money is there to be used, and we'd be more than happy to do or anything you would like us to do in terms of getting more awareness. The tricky part is that the events have to drive people into Cottage Grove from far and away, essentially. So, for example, we approved 2 grants already this year in Q1. One is for Warm Belly Farm, which has an all weekend long event called Sprout. They bring in vendors from Minneapolis, Minnesota area, Chicagoland area, and they come up and hopefully will be able to, not hopefully, but they will send them a direct link from the hotel to get those vendors to stay. So that's considered like a heads and beds tourism event. Yeah.
Thanks. And then my only other question was, with the NFL draft in April, are we advertising or anything to draw potential stays out of the municipality in?
Yep. So fortunately, we were able to get Comfort Suites Hotel listed as a hotel on the NFL draft tour. I don't know what it's called because I don't like I watch football. So yes, it is listed as an area hotel. From what I understand, all the hotels within a 60-mile radius, if not further, are already booked out. So I believe Jen already increased her rates for that weekend to try to track it. Yeah, it's crazy because the Madison's going to see the overflow from that big time. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Britt? All right, let's move on to summary of the 2024 room tax collection and review report. I believe that's Cameron.
Yep. So annually, we're required to both report out what we've collected from not only Comfort Suites, but Expedia, Airbnbs, and various other entities. So that report was filed on March 10th. And included in the packet. This year we collected $136,144. Our currently imposed rate is 8%. We do have to list out the list of the board for who we've contracted as our tourism entity. No issues on my side. The collection is within a couple $100 of what we collected last year. So overall, the rate, or sorry, the amount of taxable rooms was overall consistent. And that's all I had on that report.
Thanks, Cameron. Does anyone else have any questions for Cameron on the report? I have just a weird question. How many Airbnbs are there in Cottage Grove?
3 that are
Okay.
3 that we're aware of.
3 that are known.
So, and it's a little bit difficult because, so there's VRBO, there's Expedia, there's a couple other ones. So, and then there's some independent companies that kind of come in and out. So again, it is the agency who is renting out units responsibility to follow our ordinance. We currently don't have a mechanism to kind of force enforcement. So, if anybody is aware of a place that is being utilized in one of those third markets or independently done, that room tax rate is meant to keep everything consistent on a level playing field. So just as Comfort Suite would have to apply for it, all the other miscellaneous rental properties would have to as well. So not a ton, but that's not outside of expectations for kind of a non-tourism community.
Right. Hopefully we can gain that with all the work Britt and her team are doing. All right, let's move on to discuss and consider amending 16-9B1 of the village ordinance related to the room tax percentage.
So this came up as a request from Comfort Suites specifically, which is formed under Badger Group LLC. I believe Jen, if she's still on, or do you have a kind of a outside presentation? And then I can talk about kind of the other attachments.
I don't. This was brought on by Joe.
Okay.
It's something that Joe had requested.
Okay, I can kind of overall discuss this then. Thanks, Jen. So this was Grey Wolf Partners, who own and operate Badger Group Hotel, which is Comfort Suites, had requested that the village potentially revise the room tax rate. So that was a request directly coming from Comfort Suites. So I included in the packet kind of a summary of, based off of 2023 filings on the DOR website, what the current room tax rates are. So kind of you think if you don't book in Cottage Grove, or if price was a deterrent, we kind of look at these as our alternatives to, which the closest would be kind of Sun Prairie, Madison, and some of those other communities. Based off of the rate comparisons only, our room tax rate is consistent, or about kind of what we're seeing as an average. What the feedback I got from Joe was that the overall high cost of rooms, which includes obviously the room, is a deterrent and a detractor from increasing overall occupancy rates. I know Jen had provided a couple occupancy rates to me, and the average rate was a little low, but again, because this is passed through to customers and people visiting the community, ultimately, we were kind of looking at it as, we're not sure that it's in the village's best interest to reduce the rate at this time, but ultimately wanted to bring it to this committee to kind of discuss. Because obviously anything that, if we reduce these rates, it would reduce the funding to our tourism entity, which would ultimately reduce the ability to do marketing and other things to bring in. So it's kind of, is the decrease in the rate gonna generate the stays that are potentially lost by the marketing dollars and other things that are being put in to drive people into our community? So opening it up to the discussion.
So I do have some thoughts on it, if you guys can hear me.
I can hear you, Jen.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I don't have like a well-prepared thing, because like I said, I am speaking on behalf of just the hotel and Joe's request. So something that I personally do side with Joe, that I would love to see even a small decrease in the occupancy tax, and that's just from my perspective on the side of the guest. Something that we do see here in Cottage Grove is, one, we're outside of Madison, so it's trying to get people here. You know what I mean? And we have a brand that's like a lower budget brand. So with that brand comes like certain expectations of what one would want our rate to be. And because it's Cottage Grove, I strive, and anyone that knows me or works with me, to try to keep our rates higher to deter kind of like what would go to Madison and what would come to somewhere like Cottage Grove. Um, so if you look at my occupancy snapshots, you have a huge mixture of CLC, corporate rates, wedding blocks, like they all are very different than each other. So it's really hard to just look at that and be like, okay, on a Thursday, Jen sells a hotel for $71. I don't, but um, it's those better guests and the people that are coming from out of town, which would be like your wedding guests, your people here visiting for a reason, not someone coming as a corporate rate for Midwest Steel, because that's what, not, I mean, we want that, but that's not what we're attracting for tourism. Do you know what I mean? So those lower rates are meant for Cottage Grove. The higher rates are meant for the people that are coming to town for a reason to visit. When you get in those higher rates, which my average block rate is 169, when you do that and you add 8% on it plus a 5.5% sales tax, I will tell you that we get lots of feedback on it. Um, it feels high to people when you say, oh, my rate's 169, they're staying in a Comfort Suites. They expect the rate to be $90. Well, we don't want that. And then they have an additional 25 tacked on for tax. So now their rate is almost $200. So when you think of Comfort Suites, just in general, when you're going on vacation, you don't think that you're going to pay $200 a night to stay here. So that's something we're battling here. It was also brought to my attention by someone that does bring in a lot of tourism. That feedback was brought to us, which is why we went to Joe. Um, so their rates are really high when they come, and that just I would I am also on the tourism committee, and I love everything Britt does, and we do partner really well with having really great ideas of what we need to do for the hotel. So it's kind of like hard when you're on both sides. We need that money. We need the help marketing. Everything that, we're doing in the tourism committee is doing nothing but, setting us up for more success. But as far as the hotel itself, that that 8% is something that is voiced often, especially mixed with my rates to keep this hotel in more of like a higher end state than your budget East Side Madison hotel. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the perspective that I have, on the overall conversation and why I think um, we would benefit even just to, match up with somewhere like Sun Prairie that has more to offer than we do.
Hey, hi, Jen, this is Jen. That would help overall. I mean, it's only a percentage, but does that get you to a point that it's not at 200, but it's a mental block thing where it's underneath the $200?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm facing is these Saturday rates. I don't know if you guys, I mean, I don't know how much you look into the hotel being that you live in Cottage Grove, but when you try to book a room for Saturday night right now, it's 259. So you take 259, that's if you're not in a block and you're coming here for the draft or you're coming here for a football game or you're coming here, which you're going to be coming from out of town. When you take anything at, 249 times 13.5% tax, now you're adding on $35, or close to that. So it's really just me as a GM trying to balance how do I keep our rates high, get us what we deserve here in Cottage Grove, but also not get those constant reviews and feedback like, oh my gosh, this is so expensive. Um, so it's really just trying to manage both ends of it.
No, Jen, thank you for that perspective and all those comments. I think a decrease from an 8% to a 7% really only is like a $2 difference
Yeah,
on average.
but take that times however many rooms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at Dane County and the list of percentages, we are right. We're not an outlier, we're right where we need to be. We obviously have goals as a village to increase tourism, and because our rates are not not different, I'm not recommending that we change the ordinance at this time. At least that's my perspective.
And my thoughts are if we think, if the hotel thinks that moving to say match Sun Prairie, which is 7%, if that can make a difference for them, then maybe it should be something we consider.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. I mean, we want people to Cottage Grove. And if Jen, I appreciate you speaking on behalf of Joe. And your heart and passion I can hear through your voice. And all the work that you're doing to try and bring in guests to the hotel, which is a beautiful comfort suite. Like it's definitely better than other comfort suites I've visited in the past. Um, I could see going as low as 7%, but I wouldn't be able to definitely not eliminate it or go any lower than that. Any thoughts or any motion?
And so what would be looking for here, it would be a recommendation to the village
A
board.
recommendation? Okay.
It would not be the actual authority to change the rate.
Sorry, discuss and consider had me a little confused.
And Jen does have a conflict of interest here. So kind of the
Yep.
way in the past that this is, she could choose to abstain, or she could choose to, obviously to vote on it, just with the obviously being tied to it. Historically, we've asked those kind of parties to abstain, but that doesn't prohibit you from voting on it.
I would, I would choose not to abstain. I would like to vote on the 7% or voice my opinion that that would benefit at the hotel.
All right, to keep the discussion going, I guess then I'll make the motion that we make the recommendation to move from 8% to 7%, and see how this goes.
I will second that motion or motion for recommendation. There's a motion for recommendation and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Any abstain? Motion passes with the recommendation to move the room tax rate down to 7%.
So kind of the mechanics there, it would go to village board for consideration. So it would likely appear on the agenda on April 7th. We would probably make it, if the village board would choose to reduce the rate, it would probably be effective as of April 1st. Or, as obviously recommended by Jen, I don't know the mechanics there if she's collecting 8%, April 1st through the 6th, which is in the second quarter. If there's a mechanism for them to refund customers the difference. But we would not make this retroactive or proactive so it could be even to begin third quarter. We wouldn't want to do it in the middle of a quarter.
And that makes sense here as well, since, our quarters are definitely significantly different, and third quarter would be where we would start to see, a large increase in our rate and occupancy.
Would someone from Comfort Suites be able to come and speak again at the village board meeting then, and perhaps maybe add a little bit to the data?
That would be me.
And what the decrease from 8 to 7 would actually mean in
Yeah,
terms of numbers? That would just be helpful, I think.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
All right, thanks.
And to add to that, Cameron, then what the impact is to the tourism dollars. I mean, it's 1%. Probably not going to be it's going to be a little bit, but I think that should be something the village board should hear as well.
All right. Any other discussion on this? Otherwise, we're going to move to future agenda items. I think we're ready to meet next March again
Yeah.
with,
Just to put some last context on the last item, that 1%, that reduction of about 1% would almost be $12,000 out of so of what we paid the chamber, the 95,000, that would be roughly $11,000 to $12,000 actual funds. Yep.
thanks, Cameron. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, 11,875, because we're reducing it by a full percentage. So one divided by 8 is 0.125 of what was paid to estimate to get to the 11,875.
Real quick, this is John Russell. Can I just get whoever is in charge of the village's portion of the Tourism Commission website? I don't know if that's Brittany or a staff member, just to update it because there's some conflicts of the grant application process. Looks like there's conflicts of members listed, and we can just kind of clean that up a little bit because I do know people that come here based on whether it's development, whatever it may be, they go to our website first, which is good on them, but there's some conflicts with the tourism application and assistant grant, and I can spend 10 minutes with that person and kind of clean it up.
Yep, Inga Cushman.
What's that?
Inga Cushman.
Okay, great. And then to answer John's question earlier about return on investment, the 3 media marketing firms that we did meet with this past year, John, there is a return on investment where they can actually provide us data based on zip codes of travelers into and out of Cottage Grove. That obviously does come with a price, and it's not cheap. And there's, I know, a less intrusive vocabulary that they use, but basically it's all tracking your cell phone. So there is that option. We just haven't gotten there yet because the prices kind of exceeds our expectations. Thanks.
Thanks, John.
All right. Anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Well, second.
I'll second that. Yeah. Sorry, there's a delay here. All right. Motion to adjourn second. All non-debatable. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Good day.
Yep, so that